Part 1. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 1. Chapter 1 Knowledge equals power. In the land of fire, Hidden Leaf Village, the sun rises as usual. In a seemingly ordinary house, a father and son are sitting at the breakfast table, staring at each other. Mitaman Satoru's complexion was normal, and once again he saw the face of the opposite father, which changed rapidly from normal to red and then to livid. Soft dark brown short hair raised up randomly, a round face, a pair of piercing big eyes, wearing a dark blue blouse. This kid looks cute and cute. He finished his breakfast quickly and glanced at the clock on the wall. Well, it's almost time for Dad to go to work. He got up skillfully, ran back to his room on the second floor, closed the door, and did it in one go. Yawning, Wu lightly made a hand gesture, uttered a few strange syllables, and dazzling purple sparks flickered on his fingertips. A large book with a strange cover, shining with magnificent lavender light, slowly emerged from the air in front of him. Nodding in satisfaction, Wu opened the big book on the table, covered his ears with his hands, and began to read it intently. 3, 2, 1. On time, the old man's angry roar came from downstairs. Enlightenment. You brat! How did your brain work? Your question is simply nonsense. Is that what ninjutsu is for you to use? Don't mess around. Downstairs, in front of the breakfast table, the senior consultant of Mueyin village. Mitaman N, who was said to be similar in status, strength, and wisdom to the third Hokage Hirozuru Sarutobi, angrily took off his glasses and took a deep breath, then pulled the tablecloth and wiped it vigorously. He was too excited just now, his finger holding his glasses shook so much that he poked the glasses lens. As the consultant with the highest status in the history of the Mitaman family, it is not the first time that his son has been angry like this recently. But then he looked at his glasses that were getting more and more stained, and the corners of his mouth could not be concealed slightly raised. He was just hiding his embarrassment. Although as Konoha's senior advisor, the second-generation Hokage's direct disciple, and the third-generation Hokage's close comrade in arms, and possesses great strength and the wisdom recognized by the Jonin, but still can't change one thing. He is a traditional ninja, and the heavy responsibility of high-level advisors makes him have to be safe in everything. Even the education of the son is the same. But good wisdom let him know that it is a good thing that young people like to ask questions. Isn't the present rich ninjutsu system created by countless ninja ancestors with fantastic ideas? But, his son's thinking is too divergent, right? How old was he, and he started to think of such a dangerous idea? How to use the intense pain of Huodun to stimulate the body, so as to stimulate the potential to obtain a speed beyond the limit. The corners of Yan's mouth twitched and he put on the glasses that were getting blurred, grabbed the bread in front of him and took a hard bite. This is simply nonsense. Even I would not dare to put the fire dungeon directly on me, and the earth dungeon is almost the same. I thought that after the feasibility of casting the transformation technique on the enemy last time and the more ridiculous ideas last time, he could calm down a bit. In the upstairs room, Mito Mongo put down his hands covering his ears. TCH, pedantic old man. This is a serious academic proposition. In essence, ninjutsu is not much different from magic. By the time of the Fourth World War, not all of those uncles are archmages. Is Naruto master fans complaining for nothing? Wu let out a sigh of relief. He was still under a lot of psychological pressure for crossing to the upper level of Konoha. As a good boy who was born in a peaceful age, never got into fights since he was a child, and his biggest hobby is watching anime and playing games at home. The only bloody time in his previous life was when Shibai's boss wanted him to take the blame, so he fired him. With the strength and status of his father, Mitamonin, he was determined to have excellent ninja talent early on as a son, and there should be no problem in becoming a jonin in the future. But the problem is, this world is too cruel. Going to the battlefield before the age of 10 or something. Originally, Satoru had watched some of the anime Hokage, but only before Shippuden. The large amount of reminiscences in the original animation seriously affected his motivation to follow the update, so he turned to watch Pirates, and then he didn't even think about making up the episode until the end of Hokage. However, the overwhelming information on Zongman novels, Bilibili, Huhu, and Bahia made Mitem and Satoru somewhat aware of the main plot, but not the details. Keywords: Male God Xiaotian Group, a bag of rice carrying a few floors, Dancing King Banyi, Younger Brother Itake, Bayman Kaihuang, Scientist Uncle Snake, Kuang Danzo, Tsundere 9 Llamas, Iwina Obito, 4 generations of 666, 5½ of a half flags, Mouth Escape Savior, X Fetish Heiju, High Bloodline, Alien Big Wooden Barrel. There are also all kinds of eyeballs that play with flowers. Is this Tima the world that socialist pollution-free intellectuals should stay in? Satoru had been troubled by this for 5 whole years when he was a child. Until, fortunately, Mitem and Satoru flipped through the big book on the previous page again, and the mysterious symbols on it flickered with brilliance that flickered on and off. The Book of Medivh, the strongest magic book in Azeroth, but this signature, to the new Guardian Cadger, my trust that is no longer young, the afterimage of Medivh. So, this is a remake? When he was sleeping on his 5th birthday, he came to the spiritual space by chance, and after seeing this strange magic book, he understood. As a weak and pollution-free intellectual, the cost of surviving in this dangerous world has arrived. Azeroth is the world he is most familiar with, and a certain sky blue job known as his son is the favorite job of a decent player like him who abides by order. You don't need to spend money on food and drink, it's convenient to make money with the trumpet, the attack power is not low, and the NPC background is tough enough to be full of characters. Even for those who love other professions, how many have never played mage? But ninjas, like mages, are high-blooded, crunchy professions. Therefore, the number one priority for the ninja community to survive is to save their lives. With the help of the Book of Medivh, Mito Satoru has successfully obtained the power of Arcane, one of the 6 original forces of Azeroth, which is the foundation of the mage. The power of Arcane, the power used by the creation titans on the Order side, has all kinds of incredible uses. From the fireball technique of mages to the creation power of titans, they are all manifestations of arcane power. That's right, the magic of fire, frost, lightning, earth, and even life can use arcane power to evoke. To put it simply, according to the explanation of the Book of Medivh, the spellcasting of mages is to use the arcane power under their control to knead the corresponding elements into the desired shape. Archmage Kadger liked to rub lightning bolts when he was young. As long as they want, they can even forcibly cast the Holy Light spell. The premise is that there is a Holy Light battery. For mages, arcane power is the foundation, and everything else is trails. Moreover, magic does not have the so-called attribute compatibility of ninjutsu. Wu rested his chin and thought about it. The Book of Medivh has the most records on arcane magic, the most orthodox magic book. As a reprinted version, this magic book, which is obviously more commemorative, still abides by the apprentice protection mechanism of the stronger the strength, the more content you can see. Even for the sake of fun, many anecdotes and complaints have been added. However, in the ninja world, arcane magic that is too conspicuous cannot be used at the beginning. Arcane explosions, arcane missiles, arcane orbs, etc. are too dazzling and not very conspicuous. In the same way, in the Mito family, where there is no special blood succession limit, the appearance of the ice system will also bring huge troubles. Then, besides conventional ninjutsu, the only thing that can be chosen as the initial method is fire magic. So the problem goes back to the beginning. One of the powerful life-saving skills of fire magic. Fiery speed. Celebrating the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party of China. New books for collection. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 2. Chapter 2 World Tree and God Tree. Mitaman Satoru took a notebook and began to write and draw on it. The principle of fiery speed is true, but how to cast spells is still up to him. The book only introduces the principle of spell casting, and there are no ready-made spells. Probably because Archmage Kager no longer needs a spell to cast this kind of spell. First of all, the control of arcane power. The Book of Medivh is not only a spell book that records magical knowledge, but also a powerful magic weapon. Enlightenment can successfully obtain the power of arcane magic, and it is inseparable from its help. In this world where the power of the arcane has not manifested, it is basically impossible for Satoru to comprehend the power of the arcane on his own. Even if he lives next to the Well of Eternity, it took tens of thousands of years for the elves to appear the real arcane mage. Primitive arcane power is difficult to control, especially in the initial era of unsystematic magic inheritance. According to the book, after the explosion of the Well of Eternity, the elves relied on the World Tree to use arcane power more easily. The principle of the World Tree is to use the huge power of life to guide the power of nature to regulate the violent arcane power of the Well of Eternity, and enable the caster to use them safely. For example, the Zingguoyuihuo of the cuckoos. And the magic net that spread all over the world is also the basis for magic apprentices to quickly master the power of arcane magic. Now we can already see the content of this part. This is part of the history of magic. There is no magic net here, and there is no world tree. This book will replace it. Wu's hand holding the pen stopped suddenly, and a trace of cold sweat oozed from his forehead. No. World tree. But, there is a divine tree. The sacred tree, the 10 tails, the ancestor of chakra. Chakra is a special energy formed by the mixture of physical energy and spiritual energy in the human body, but human beings have had physical energy and spiritual energy since ancient times. Why did chakra appear after the appearance of the sacred tree? The sacred tree absorbs the life force of the planet and forms a chakra fruit, which. It is clearly stated in the Book of Medivh that the power of the arcane is the power of the Titans, that is, the power of the star soul, and the power of the soul of the world is manifested. The Well of Eternity is the manifestation of the arcane power of the star soul of Azeroth, the source of magic and natural energy. Here, the ninja world can also master the power of arcane. In other words, this planet has a star soul? Chakra, is it a kind of arcane power that has been processed by the sacred tree, a brand new energy that is different from natural energy? Even the environment of the millennium has changed, and the creatures in the ninja world have been affected, and they can master chakra. Just like after the appearance of the Well of Eternity, Azeroth has produced all kinds of strange magical animals, plants, and minerals for tens of thousands of years. If that's the case. Regardless of blazing speed, Mito Monto immediately tried to use the power of arcane magic to launch ninjutsu. If his guess is true, arcane power should be able to replace the role of chakra, or at least it should be able to transform each other. Weisayan Ninja Method Avatar Technique. Boom. When forming seals, Wu felt that something was wrong, and before he had time to think about it, one of the most basic E-level ninjutsu, the clone technique, had already been completed. This is. Mitaman Satoru looked at the strange thing separated with a black line on his head. It's not the phantom clone of the E-level clone technique, but some entities, which means the effect of the technique is stronger, but this ghost form. I have already mastered the avatar technique, okay. The power of arcane can launch ninjutsu, but it is much more difficult to control. And the power of arcane can also be transformed into chakra to launch ninjutsu, and it is more special than the normally produced chakra. A faint purple halo flashed in Wu's eyes, which was the phenomenon of the leakage of arcane power due to unstable mental state. Sure enough, my conjecture is reasonable. The deeper principles may require my richer arcane knowledge to understand. But now, I am more sure of surviving safely in this world. Mitamon Wupan, my father, Mitamonian, has a high status in the whole Konoha, and his popularity is not low. Even in the ninja world, he is not a little transparent. But who ever heard of Mitamon Yan having a son? The same consultant, Zhuan Xiaochun, who is so old that his teeth have fallen out, has not changed his surname. It can be seen that he is not married, or married a commoner. The descendants don't know who it is. Mr. Guo Wang is also a strange existence, let alone. Among his friends, Uchiha Kagami, who died young, has descendants like Shisui, not to mention the 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruza and Aikido schools Akimichi Torukaze, but what about Mitamon Yan? Satoru came to a conclusion in horror. If he had a son in the first place, he would either be a scumbag or die. As for the slag, it obviously doesn't match the ninja talent of his current level. Now, finally, there is hope. Enlightenment calmed down and heaved a sigh of relief, the arcane brilliance in his eyes dissipated. The degree to which a mage controls arcane power is inseparable from knowledge and spirit. Only with rich knowledge and strong spirit can one effectively control the power of arcane arts and achieve one's own goals. From this point of view, the existence of chakra has made spellcasting in this world easier by more than one level, and children of all ages can perform ninjutsu. The existence of the divine tree is almost equivalent to the enhanced version of the world tree. It not only absorbs the power of the star soul arcane, but also uses the power of life to reconcile it. It seems that the various changes in chakra's properties are also related to this process. The richness of arcane knowledge can make the spiritual power and arcane affinity stronger, and the control is less labor-intensive. The stronger the spiritual power, the more arcane power you can control. Guardians like Medivh and Kagure level, basically don't worry about mana. Mito Mongo returned to the table, took the notebook again, and began to summarize the principle of blazing speed spellcasting. This kind of research is also one of the effective means of training arcane affinity. Enlightenment. Are you there? The familiar shouts of children came from downstairs outside the window. Wu put down the pen, lay down on the table, let his hair be lower than the window sill. Hey! Wu, don't hide. Since I was a child, when I was looking for you, didn't you squat at home? Shua. There was a noise outside the window, and Wu grinned helplessly. When he raised his head, he saw a little fat man hanging outside the window. Squinting eyes, circle face, looking very happy. Akimichi Dingzuo of the Akitheo family, a friend of his father Mito Minyan, and the son of Akimichi Takase, was born more than 10 days earlier than Wu. You make it sound like you've grown up. Wu got up and opened the window, Dingzuo jumped in, and Medivh's book was on the table, but Dingzuo couldn't see it at all, only saw Wu's notebook. What novelty are you researching? Dingzuo skillfully took out a bag of potato chips and opened it, handed a piece to Wu, and couldn't help complaining. I said, Wu, you are still more than 10 days younger than me, why do I always feel that you are much older than me? My dad always tells me to learn more from you, but I'm really not used to things like reading. It's also because you belong to the Kyudeo clan. Enlightenment took Dingzuo's potato chips and stuffed them into his mouth, muttered something in a low voice, and then became a little excited again. Dingzuo, you came just in time, I just had some new ideas, let's go to the river to try it out. Ha! Dingzuo bit his finger and shivered, thinking of the consequences of what Wu said last time. You won't come up with a technique to turn me into a sheep again. No, no, this time I cast a spell on myself, I just want you to help prevent accidents. Really, let's go, I finally sacrificed my time at home to go out. Half an hour later, Dingzuo watched the fire burn his butt, shouted and disappeared from his face in an instant, and Wu, who fell headlong into the river, opened his mouth wide, and potato chips fell from his hands. Is this instantaneous body technique? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 3. Chapter 3 What to do after becoming a sheep? Dingzo watched with admiration on Wu's dejected climb up from the river, and nodded earnestly. Enlightenment, you can develop such a powerful teleportation technique without even going to ninja school, you are really amazing. Uncle Yan is guiding you carefully. I have to learn more from my father when I go back. Mitaman Satoru bared his teeth and looked at Akimichi Kozuma's admiring little face, only to feel his butt hurt even more. Fierily. Could it be that I was tricked? Vigorously recalling the principles of spellcasting in the book, and the feeling of casting spells just now, Wu deeply felt the evil taste of senior mages. But seeing Dingzo's reaction, Wu really can't say that the effect of this spell is not good. At the age of less than 6 years old, he successfully developed such a powerful teleportation technique, it's just that the effect is still too embarrassing. The limit is the limit, it can't be used for fighting, but it's not bad for running away. Enlightenment rubbed his cool ass. This spell. It's back. It's almost lunchtime, I have to change my pants before the old man goes back. Dingzo. During lunchtime, Mito Minion looked at his son suspiciously. He always felt that the other party's confidence in the face of the truth is in hand in the morning had been completely wiped out. You didn't really test the technique according to the idea in the morning, did you? Yan looked at Wu, whose face became embarrassing, and covered his forehead weakly. You are not injured, it seems that as a father, I need to let you know the danger of using the spell indiscriminately. Yan knocked on the table and looked at Wu with a serious face. Enlightenment, let me say it again, it's good to have ideas, but developing new techniques is not such a simple matter. You haven't even attended ninja school now, and if you take too many steps, you will hurt yourself. Well. Satoru stuffed his lunch indiscriminately, thinking that he should be more careful when reading spell books in the future. The things that old man Medivh wrote to tease Kajer were not something his small body could easily bear. The target of this book's teasing is the archmage who has become the guardian. Hey! You didn't listen at all. Yan sighed, pushed his glasses, and reached out to hold Wu's head. Boy, it is very difficult to develop a ninjutsu. After dinner, I will go to the river with me. Dad, let me help you refer to the jutsu you want to develop. Rubbing his nose with the other hand, Yan said confidently. How can I say that I am also Rizan's advisor, and I have witnessed his title of ninjutsu professor all the way. So it's not that you are a ninjutsu professor. Hey. That's not the point. You bastard. Eat quickly and follow me. You won't get what others ask for. Wait for me to get a pair of pants. At the riverside where Wu and Dingzo visited in the morning, Wu, who had put on new pants, spread his hands helplessly. So, although the effect of this technique is not bad, but it takes a lot of clothes. Mitaman Yan stared at Wu, who had a faintly smug expression on his face. He really didn't expect that this technique would really work. It's a trivial matter to burn the clothes. Yan rubbed his chin, carefully estimating the speed brought by the new technique that Wu named Blazing Speed. This is already close to the speed of Chunin level telekinesis. Even if it is a genin, it is very suitable as a life-saving. I don't need to say which is more important, clothes or life on the battlefield. And as it gets more developed, it should be possible to avoid burning clothes. Yan's face became joyful, so his son is still a genius? It seems that your previous ideas have been developed in practice? Thinking of the weird question that Wu mentioned before, Yan couldn't help feeling a little hopeful. Come on, try those techniques on me, how many kinds have you developed? Old man, are you sure? Enlightenment's complexion became weird, Unexpectedly there was an old man close to the shadow level who offered to be a target for him. "Why, do you think you can hurt me?" Yan smiled and waved to Wu. "Go ahead." "Oh well." Wu took a long breath and began to demonstrate. First of all, on increasing the strength of the technique by repeating the same seal. Wu's hands began to seal, very slowly. Yan on the opposite side was already in shock, his eyes widened. Enlightenment. You can already use this level of fire escape. Unlike blazing speed, which only uses a little high temperature to stimulate the body, the seal that Wu is currently forming, in Yan's view, has reached the difficulty of sea level. Completely forming seals and successfully performing ninjutsu are two different concepts. Sea-level ninjutsu is generally a technique performed by Chunin. Yan showed a smile at the corner of his mouth. In his opinion, the idea proposed by Satoru was to increase the success rate of performing ninjutsu by using slow and repeated seals, but this is meaningless in actual combat. With this time, the enemy can kill you several times by throwing a shuriken. Fireball. After repeating the seal several times, Wu gave a loud shout, and a fist-sized fireball took shape and flew towards Yan. Yan keenly felt the difference. Is this technique a sea-level fireball? Fireball. Usually fireballs are ejected from the mouth. How is this fireball generated out of thin air? But that doesn't matter, it's a fireball, that's right. It actually succeeded, although the power is terrible, but this is really a sea-level ninjutsu. It's amazing. After waving his hand to scatter the fireball flying in front of him, Yan nodded in surprise. This fireball is much weaker than normal sea-level ninjutsu, otherwise even he wouldn't be able to deal with it so lightly. Except for the young genius of the big family, who can use a flexible method to perform sea-level ninjutsu at this age, his advisor has a bright face. But Wu, this has no practical value at all. Yan felt that it was better to persuade his son to focus on laying the foundation, and to be on the safe side. Well, the next technique may have practical value. Wu he smiled, signaled to his father that he was ready, and began to make seals. This time, his sealing speed was very fast, and he muttered words in cooperation. Both seals and spells can be used to activate magic, they are essentially just a means of concentration, as long as it suits you. Powerful mages can cast simple gestures, a few words, or even a single thought to cast high-level magic, but top-level magic often still requires the help of lengthy incantations or even magic circles. But now, it is obvious that the use of not-seal gestures is more camouflage. On the feasibility of casting the transformation technique on the enemy. Transfiguration sheep. Seeing the arcane brilliance flashing across Satoru's hand, Yan instinctively felt something was wrong. However, it was too late, the operation was completed. Yan was horrified to discover that his body had been transformed into a sheep amidst his son's weird smile. Moreover, he couldn't control his body at all, he could only watch himself wandering around in place. What kind of technique is this? Yan wanted to yell, but found that the sound he made became Maya. Hey. Wu looked at the sheep circling in a daze, and rubbed his hands excitedly. What will you do after you become a sheep? With a few gestures, in front of Wu, a fist-sized fireball quickly took shape, and gradually became the size of a basketball. Yan was still spinning around in place, thinking about whether to break out of chakra to break free, but wanted to see how long this technique could last. Until a fireball the size of a basketball hit Yan's pensive sheep on the face. Pyroblast. Boom. Ah. Enlightenment. You bastard. Ahahaha. Old man, you can become stronger if you become bald. The new book is released, please collect it, I really lost a lot of hair. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 4. Chapter 4 Precautions. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Mito Mongo sat obediently in front of Dad Yan, his little face was full of innocence. Old man, you told me to use the technique you developed. Besides, I have tried my best to achieve such a small result. Old man, you are not injured at all. Nonsense. Mr. Consultant gritted his teeth, carefully considering whether to use the transformation technique to change into his own appearance and go to work tomorrow. If I didn't want to experience your rebellious transformation technique carefully, I would have burst out of chakra and broke free. How long does this technique last? About 10 seconds or so. In the future, the improvement in strength will last longer. However, being transformed will quickly restore physical strength. It can only be used on one target, and it will transform back after being hit. This is the point that enlightenment has always wanted to complain about. You must know that there is no identification of friend or foe here. If your teammates know it, kicking it up will invalidate the transfiguration. However, it can be used to restore physical strength to teammates, but it cannot restore injuries. For example, Yan's face was covered by a pyroblast, and his eyebrows, beard, and hair were burnt by the flames of the explosion without any resistance. This cannot be restored by polymorphing. He was originally a calm, handsome guy with a relatively high appearance, but now he has become an egghead. If it wasn't for the fact that the pyroblast that Wu had adjusted had a good appearance, it just looked big but had no power in reality, there might be no place for Mr. Consultant's old face. On the way home just now, he has been maintaining the transformation technique. Tisk, becoming myself, this experience. Well, although there are quite a few flaws, it's amazing as a means of control. When Yan said this, he paused slightly, and his face became serious. Wu, these few techniques of yours, and if you have similar transformations in the future, sort them out and hand them over to me. Don't tell the outside world that you improved it yourself, just say it was taught to you by your father, remember. Wu was taken aback for a moment, and then came back to his senses. Dad should be protecting himself. Understood. Old man, aren't you talking about that gloomy old man in Danzo? Wu simply made it clear that his father would not harm him, which is why Wu would show his father such things as developing new techniques. After all, it is different from the seduction technique. The technique developed by Wu is also effective when it is not so special. As Konoha's senior advisor, Mitomonion's caution allowed him to set up a safe insurance for Satoru at this time. In Konoha Hidden Village, there are only 3 people who can compete with the leader of Root, Hokage assistant Shimura Danzo, and even subtly suppress him. 3 generations of Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruza. Konoha's high-level advisor, Mitomon Yan, and Zanzuo Koharu. In other words, if the 3 generations of Hokage do not express their opinions, the 2 consultants agree to suppress Danzo, the Hokage assistant. There are only these 3 people who know the shadow of Konoha best. The existence of Danzo is not surprising to many people in Konoha. But to Satoru, it was like a thunderbolt. This is one of the key words. Wu's understanding of Mr. Guo Wang has always been at the level of unknown and serious, knowing that he is evil, unscrupulous, and a few good things he has done. However, in the past few years, he has always acted like an ordinary stern uncle in front of his father, which is very deceptive. He's already, can he be against me? Heh, as expected of my son. Yan smiled lightly, and nodded in satisfaction. That's right, as one of the few people who know Danzo best, I can say responsibly that even if you are my son, if Danzo finds out that you have outstanding talents, he will try every means to make you a potency. And as one of Konoha's top executives, his everything is for Konoha rhetoric, even if it doesn't work on me and you, it will always leave a rift between us. Yan pushed his glasses, reflecting a white light. Seeing that Wu's expression on the opposite side also became serious, he shook his head lightly. Enlightenment, you are still young, and you don't understand how high-level operations work and what needs to be considered, but as your father, I don't want you to be spotted by Danzo because of your outstanding talent. There are many complicated relationships in it. You don't need to know it now. The only thing you need to do is to grow up and become stronger. And during this process, I don't want you to have anything to do with Root as long as Danzo is still the leader of Root. Yan's eyes flickered. Wu could see clearly through the glasses, the faint ambition in his father's eyes. You should have a broader stage and a brighter future. Although I agree with him on many aspects of the governance of the village, he has no scruples in doing things. If you get involved with him, it will be detrimental to future development. It's over, the old man is on top. Is he thinking of some bad idea to make himself honor his ancestors? I haven't come up with any results yet. Is the old man too impatient? Shouldn't I ask my own opinion on this kind of thing? Then what? I'll talk about it later. Anyway, my wish is to stay at home until I die. Wu quickly uttered the rebellious words that made Yan dumbfounded. For this purpose, I have developed the technique of making food and drinking water, and I can't even leave the door. The next thing that needs to be studied is the automatic cleaning and tidying technique, as well as improving the taste of food and drinking water. Stop, stop. Yan had no choice but to interrupt Jinwu's eloquence. What did you just say? The art of making food and drinking water? Automatic cleaning and tidying? You also know that food and drinking water need to be eaten and drunk. Why don't you just build them in your belly? Seeing Wu's suddenly enlightened look, Yan coughed dryly with difficulty. Stop thinking about it. If you don't even bother to eat, get out and build your own house. TCH, laziness is the driving force behind human progress. Wu glanced disdainfully at his father's much refreshed head, and lightly said. Well, maybe the technique to promote hair growth also needs to be studied. The corner of MaleProtagonist's mouth twitched. Stop. What can you do with your poor chakra? Ninjas don't just have to be quick-witted. You will be going to the ninja school next month. Go there and learn the basics for me. It won't be too late to study these things when you become an official ninja. Also, give me a good practice of taijutsu. Learn more from Dingzo. Their Akitayo school's taijutsu training is well known throughout Konoha. If it weren't for the busy work, I should have personally guided you to practice. Thinking of ninja school, Satoru has a bigger head. His heir Zyodeo Dingzuo is one of the 12 young masters of Konoha, the father of Dingji Akideo. He still knows this, but anyone else? He doesn't know how many. In this generation, Ikeko, Narashikasa, and Yamanaka Kaki have met several times because of Choza. Not a senior intelligence expert, who would study these background board-like characters, even his father, Mitomonyan, just remembers how he was spit by Tsunade's collar. Hey! Are you thinking about something impolite? No, no. Of course I will practice taijutsu, but I will definitely focus on ninjutsu. When it comes to taijutsu, Wu couldn't help but think of one of the key words. Among the Hokage mages, the last stubborn body art Beiman Kaihuang. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziyu. Chapter 5. Chapter 5 The Guardian's Physical Awareness. Speaking of which, the forbidden technique of Beiman Dunjia has actually existed for a long time, but it is only a theory. In the ninja world, the concept of the 8 schools of the human body has always been widely spread, but it is only a method of practicing the 8 schools of Dunjia, which seems to be spread only in a small area. There are many people who have practiced ninjutsu to the pinnacle, and there are many in Konoha alone. Ninja God First Hokage, Forbidden Art Expert Second Hokage, Ninjutsu Professor Third Hokage and so on. However, there has never been anyone who can cultivate the 8 gates to fully open the 8 gates. Therefore, not only in Konoha, but even in the entire ninja world, taijutsu is a compulsory item, but it does not need to be refined. In the early days, when the ninjas had insufficient chakra and the power of the techniques they mastered was not strong, physical skills could often be the key to victory. But in the later period, in the battle of high-end force, the pure body technique can play very little role, and it is more effective as a means of confrontation after receiving the bonus of the escape technique. There are too few ninjas who choose to specialize in physical arts, and almost none of them can achieve results. As a mage who believes that knowledge is power, Wu also has a deep understanding of Taishu. Will he, the author of the Book of Medivh, the guardian of Resfal, the most powerful mage Medivh at that time, was backstabbed by his disciple Kajur and stabbed to death with a long sword. The afterimage of Medivh is obviously a bit brooding about this matter. Wu's reprinted Book of Medivh records the resentment of the former guardian in detail. Medivh, who was able to rub a powerful assassin specializing in melee combat with his bare hands, usually pays attention to intensive fighting skills, but he obviously thought that other mages would not do this. "I thought you wouldn't know how to use a sword." That's what Medivh told Kajur before he died. Therefore, Archmage Kajur later practiced a good stick technique. With the Atish he brought along from Karajan, the Archmage knocked down the sap of many powerful enemies. So at least the lineage of guardians must be proficient in physical skills. But the Bayman Dungia, it doesn't work. Many days have passed since the conversation with Dad, and Satoru has been thinking about this matter. The 8 Gates Dungia temporarily gains powerful power by untying the channel that binds chakra in the human body. But at the same time, this kind of operation will cause the chakra in the body to riot, and cannot be effectively controlled by the user, so that ninjutsu cannot be used. It's the same for Wu, who uses arcane power to cast spells. Wouldn't a mage who couldn't cast spells have to wait to die? Theoretically, the only way to solve this situation is to obtain a physical strength that can open 8 doors without injury and surpass the limit of the human body. If Mate Kai had the physical strength of Reikage, maybe the 8-door Dungia formation would not be a fatal suicide technique. But if you have the conditions like Reikage, who would go to repair Bayman Dungia? Unlike Kai, my conditions can be described as unique. The Book of Medivh shone with a hazy arcane brilliance. This magical book, invisible to others, contained countless incredible arcane knowledge. Among them is the arcane body tempering technique specially developed by Medivh. This is the unyielding resentment of a mage who was stabbed in the back by his disciples. Lightning attribute chakra can turn on the thunder escape chakra mode, activate the body, and greatly increase the physical strength. And if arcane power is used to temper the body, the effect is much better. It's just that it's much more dangerous. If you don't pay attention, the out-of-control arcane power will blow your body to pieces. But Wu, who owns the Book of Medivh, don't need to worry about this. This powerful magic weapon can reconcile the arcane power, so that Wu can always guide the arcane power of the appropriate intensity to maintain the tempered body. It is that it takes a lot of energy to guide the power of the arcane, and Satoru needs to work harder to increase the affinity for the arcane. As a mage who focuses on magic, this is enough. When the physical strength increases, the next thing you need to practice is fighting skills. This can be learned from Dingzo. It is said that their Chiudeo school's cudgel skills are only inferior to the Sarutobi school. The most common ninja tools used by ninjas are nothing more than kunao and shuriken, which are cheap and practical. But swords and sticks are also ninja tools often used by many ninjas with special skills. After all, every outstanding ninja has his own unique fighting style. But Wu chose the long stick because he saw one of the few ready-made spells in the Book of Medivh. A spell that summons Adiash Guardian's legendary staff. Although the content of this spell needs to be close to the Guardian level to see it. But that's a small goal anyway. There is no mage who is not greedy for chicken drumsticks. So now we have to start laying the foundation. It is inevitable for me to reach that level. Wu is full of confidence, and now he can be regarded as a descendant of the Guardian lineage. This kind of confidence must be possessed. Therefore, before the start of the ninja school, Satoru rarely spared time to practice cudgel with Aikido Dingza. Enlightenment, your skill is really powerful, making food. During the break, Dingzo swallowed the magic sweetbread made by Wu, and nodded with satisfaction. Although it has no calories, it contains special chakra. At the same time, it feels very full and tastes good. Perfect for weight loss and weight loss. Wu, who was lying on the ground panting, straightened up with difficulty, and practiced against Dingzo, and it was obvious that the huge gap in physical skills between the two was obvious. This is the only way I can do it now. Well, this is the technique the old man taught me. I don't have the skills to develop this kind of thing. Wu corrected and said, these ninjutsu versions of magic, after Wu took some time to modify them, they were all given to the old man, and now they are all pushed on him. Then Wu was surprised again. Isn't the secret technique of your Kyudeo clan to save calories? You still lose weight, how do you practice secret technique? I haven't started practicing secret arts yet. Dingzo grabbed the magic soda made by Satoru and drank it in one gulp, belching contentedly. I also realized that you wouldn't call me fatty. The two guys Luju and Haiyi stopped calling me that after I beat them up. The corner of Satoshi's mouth twitched. Narashika-isa, Yamanaka Kiki, these two are also well-known normal ninjas who shined brilliantly in the Fourth Ninja World War. Zuladi's three families have been connected since childhood. Although Dingzo obviously has a better relationship with Wu now, but school will start soon, and my father wants me to sign up with Luju and Haiyi. What is a family tradition? Dingzo was a little excited, he gave Wu a thumbs up. Ninja school, there will be a lot of guys I don't know. If I can lose weight quickly, I will definitely be popular. So it's up to you to realize it. I'll find you for dinner later. Ha! Wu was dumbfounded. This guy talked about Sengfen in such a refined way. You are so handsome, does Uncle Kyufeng know? If you can't practice family secrets, believe it or not, he will beat you to death. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 6. Chapter 6 Ninja School. It's finally the day when the ninja school starts. Konoha's ninja school starts in April, and Satoru will be 6 years old in 1 month. Father Mitaman Yan brought Wu to the school to report, and saw a big fat man with a little fat man. Chiudeo of Chiudeo school took the wind, and brought Chiudeo Dingzo to sign up together. Yan, I didn't expect you to personally send Wu to come here. Although Chiudeo Feng's body is like a mountain of meat and his oppressive force is quite strong, he is actually a gentle and kind person. I thought you would attend the opening ceremony with 3 generations of adults as usual. Hee, after all, it's my son's school opening ceremony, and the 3 generations of adults gave me an hour's leave. Mito Minyan patted Satoru on the shoulder. He always had a serious and rigid face in front of outsiders, but he also showed a smile in front of this best friend. Uzuladi's 3 major families, the successors of this generation, it seems that they are ready. They. Chiudeo took Feng a glance, and Dingzo, who was winking with Wu, his chubby face shook happily. The child Dingzo is so cheerful, it is thanks to the realization. I hope that the 2 boys from the Nara family and the Yamanaka family can get along well in school. Every generation of Zuladi, the descendants of our Chiu Taoist school, has to pass this level first. Dingzo's kid will be fine, Mitamonyan smiled. Satoru will help him too. Look, Nara and Yamanaka are here, let's go quickly. Chiudeo took the wind to look around, nodded, said goodbye to Yan and his son with a smile, and took Dingzo to the other 2 old friends' houses. Enlightenment, the Kyudeo family is also a big family that has existed since the establishment of the village. The same is true for the Nara family and the Yamanaka family. You should get along well in school. At home, Mitaman is a slightly stubborn father, but from the perspective of the village as a whole, he is a calm advisor who pursues authoritarianism. Konoha's major families, in his view, are also different from each other. Wu, what Yan said is right, if you want to make a difference in the village, you must start working hard from now on. Another voice sounded. Wu turned around, and saw a middle-aged female ninja with a serious face and a bun, walking towards them. Xiao-chun, you're here, is Ri-Zhan ready to start? Zhuanzi Xiao-chun, a female ninja who is a high-level advisor to Konoha with Mightyman Yan, is good at medical ninjutsu, and possesses a calmness and rationality that ordinary female ninjas rarely have. Yeah, I'm here to find you. Smiling at Wu, who curled his lips, Xiao-chun turned to sleep and squatted down to look at him. I'm sorry, Satoru, you're going to enter the school by yourself to attend the opening ceremony. What you just said, as Yan's son, you should be able to understand, then come on. Watching Dad and his female colleague disappear in front of him, Wu pressed his temple. Too old stubborn, the Mito Mongo from the original world, maybe he understood what you mean deeply, and turned into a guy who seems to be non-existent. At the opening ceremony, holding the admission notice, Mightyman Satoru stood in the line with the corner of his mouth twitching. 6-year-old body, 28-year-old soul, maybe some kind of neutralizing effect? Wu felt that his personality was similar to that of a teenager. But that doesn't stop him from seeing things through the eyes of a 28-year-old. In front of the crowd was the 3 generations of Hokage, Sarutobi Hirozane, wearing a Hokage hat, a red outer robe and a white inner robe, holding a pipe. Old man Hokage, Satoshi has seen it a few times, hardcore smoker. But you can always smoke so much, and you can still talk so much, aren't you thirsty? It's been over an hour now. Wu could vaguely see that the bangs of the students in the front row were a little wet. Sure enough, he is worthy of being the supreme leader, the speech talent is full. Satoru rubbed the corner of his mouth to calm down the twitching muscles. As a socialist pollution-free intellectual, Wu is quite consistent with netizens' views on Konoha and Sandai. This is an indecisive old fellow. It is true that he is gentle and kind, but it is also true that he is indecisive. When Sarutobi Hiruzen was in office, Konoha was at its peak, and a large number of outstanding genius ninjas emerged. Then he was played by the 3 generations himself. Konoha's unnecessary loss of strength is enough to wipe out a country. The rebellious ninja that Konoha went out could destroy the world. If these people are still in Konoha, how can there still be such crap things? The old man was irrational when he should be rational, and decisive when he should be decisive, and he was confused by some inexplicable scruples. The ninjutsu professor, after all, is not a professor of sociology. He can't reach the realm of convincing people with strength like the 1st generation, and he has soft ears. The will of fire of the 1st generation was a simple slogan in that war-torn era, and it was also one of the important reasons why the major families of Konoha were willing to join. But times are changing, and if you don't keep up with the times, your slogan will become empty talk. The will of fire in the 1st generation is hope, the future, and the seed. The will of fire of the 2nd generation is protection, inheritance, and seedlings. The will of fire of the 3 generations should be development, accumulation, and a big tree. However, the will of fire of the 3 generations did not develop healthily in the direction of luxuriant branches and trees forming a forest. On the contrary, it is plagued by diseases and insect pests, self-damaged branches, rotten roots, fallen leaves. Giant trees will fall, and the 4th generation will be a mess of internal and external troubles. And the 4th generation died young before they had time to realize their ambitions, and they could only rely on the 3rd generation to support them with their old age. Among the contemporaries of the 4 generations, there is actually no other qualified Hokage candidate. Oh, and there are still a few. Either defect, or the spirit is hit, or the mind is not here. There are those who have this idea, but they have long been excluded from the center of power. A good hand plays a poor hand. Not to mention, among them, all kinds of dark brain supplements that the majority of netizens are keen on. After several years of observation, Wu didn't think it was so complicated. The 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen simply lacked the ability to control. He can't control Konoha, which has reached its peak, and as he grows older, his deterrent power will weaken even more, so there will be a lot of bad things later. Therefore, he is now eloquent about the content of the speeches of the students, and the normal Konoha boys will sound with bright eyes and firm beliefs. It sounded to Zayu that it was no different from what the leader of Shibai who was fired by him said in a meeting. However, Konoha is still saved. Although Wu is not a savior, since the old man is considered one of Konoha's top management, for the sake of the old man, he can't let Konoha's back be so miserable, right? As for what to do, we'll talk about it then. Wu is not a sympathetic priest, a holy and noble paladin, or an indomitable warrior, he is just a rational and self-aware mage, an apprentice. From a rational point of view, when the details are not under your control, rashly interfering with the main line is courting death. But since I appeared here, my own existence itself is the biggest uncertain factor that interferes with the main line. So the safest way is to increase your strength before the big turning point, and at the same time have a few reliable companions. The mage is too fragile in the early stage, without the help of his companions, just relying on being clever, but there is no way to survive in this supernatural world to the finale. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziyu. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 Collecting Intelligence. The ninja education in ninja school is basically in the order of admission: basics, practice, application, graduation, ninja. In wartime, there will be a special mechanism that allows the senior students of the ninja school to graduate early and enter the battlefield. That is the most inhumane point in the ninja world. Of course, this is also the point that the first Hokage Senjujima devoted his whole life to changing. To put it bluntly, ninjas are tools of war, hired groups, born for war, and die for war. But to build a village, at least there is the possibility of huddling together for warmth. Since the death of the second generation of Naruto Senjutogma and the end of the First Ninja World War, Konoha has had a peaceful era for more than 10 years. Therefore, the current ninja school is an education policy in a peaceful age, and there is no such thing as going to the battlefield to experience blood and fire to become a ninja. But as Mightyman Yan's son, Wu could still sense something from his father's few words. The days of peace and stability may not be long. There are occasional frictions between the great powers again, and it is unknown how long the stable environment of the ninja school will last. Wu Huan looked around at the little classmates present, and he didn't feel too impatient to play with the children. Because of this group of children, how many of them can grow up to the age where they can drink is another matter. Most of the first-year courses are foundational. And Wu, who had already mastered the avatar and transformation techniques on the bright side before entering school, had undoubtedly surpassed others at the starting point. One thing about Konoha is good: children from big families don't have any so-called privileges at school, and the teacher at most knows which wealthy family the child belongs to, and the foundation is relatively good. The children are not very afraid of the children of the big family. On the one hand, this is the benefit brought by the will of fire, and on the other hand, it is also related to the professional characteristics of the ninja. As a ninja, on the battlefield, the enemy will not be merciful to you because of your status as a wealthy child. On the contrary, it is more likely to target you, so as to make your name famous. If it is a rare blood follower ninja, the situation will be even worse. The people in power of the big family are undoubtedly very aware of this point. Strength and merit are the most important criteria for judging a ninja, not his birth. After all, in this wonderful world, it is not uncommon for one person to become a wealthy family. Therefore, students don't have to worry about their origins. The school will impart ninja knowledge to everyone equally. As long as you work hard, anyone can hope to become an excellent ninja. The head teacher was talking on the podium. Some of the students below had glowing eyes, some were drowsy, and some didn't take it seriously. The teacher saw that his speech did not seem to arouse everyone's enthusiastic response, and he seemed to be a little embarrassed, so he said loudly. Not to mention, the three disciples of Hokage-sama, the elite Jonin Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade, among them, Jiraiya-sama and Orochimaru-sama, are all of commoner origin. If Lord Orochimaru was a rare genius when he was young, then Master Jiraiya, who is as famous as him, was always mediocre when he was young. Through unremitting efforts, he finally became a powerful ninja on an equal footing with the genius Orochimaru and the granddaughter Tsunade of the first Hokage. The three powerful ninjas who belonged to the elite among the elites in Jonin finally cheered up the students and uncontrollably created a beautiful vision for the future. Indeed, the future Sunin, the present Jiraiya and others, especially Jiraiya himself, are the protagonists of inspirational stories in this era. Sile also. Wu's eyes rolled, observing the students around him. Well, no blondes. That is to say, in this year, when I graduated, I didn't know whether the Jonin sensei who led the team came to them or not. Among the classmates, except for Akimichi Choza, Narashika Issa, and Yamanaka Kiki, the rest should be background boards. Wu couldn't help but feel a little lucky. Anyway, there are three more that are not background boards. Wu has also seen the list of senior students. Although the father had a rather meaningful expression on his face when he learned that he wanted to see the list, but Wu still had to work hard to accumulate information step by step with the existing resources. Intelligence information is a very important part of knowledge classification. It's also a force to be reckoned with. Sure enough, Wu found several impressive names in the list of students still in school. Am Shiwei in the 2nd grade, Uchiha Mikoto in the 3rd grade, Nakoki in the 4th grade, Hinata Hizuki and Hinata Nazashi in the 5th grade. It's just that the rope tree in the 4th grade, I remember it seems to be. The corner of his mouth twitched, and Satoru recalled the sense of urgency he felt when he first saw Nakoki's name. At the same time as Prince Konoha, his grandson. In other words, when this grandson had just graduated from school and unfortunately died in battle, the Second Ninja World War was about to begin. Isn't that just 2 or 3 years? His instinctive nervousness when he saw the name of the tree was discovered by his father Mitamonian. But the old man obviously misunderstood, introduced the information of Naisha to him, and pointed out. For the three major Zuladi families, friendship is beneficial, but Chenshu, you have to look at it from the perspective of a competitor. Of course Wu knew what his father had misunderstood, but he couldn't tell. Everyone who knew Konoha knew what that dumb-headed green rope tree was yelling all day long. However, they have that capital. The first generation of Hokage, the god of ninjas Senju Hashirama, and the first generation of Nine Tails Jinchuriki, the grandson of Uzumaki Mito. The tyrannical blood of the Senju and Uzumaki clan is not something to be seen. The achievements of his sister Tsunade can largely illustrate this point. Perhaps, this is also the main reason for his early death in battle? Wu seems to be listening to the class carefully, but in fact, Wu completely filters out the basic brainwashing education given by the teacher in charge. His thinking has begun to spread uncontrollably in the direction of Konoha's darkness. Too self-confident and careless? Someone in the upper echelon has a black hand? He knows the enemy inside and outside? Or is the enemy knowing his identity and deliberately targeting him? Satoru guessed again and again that as one of the key words, top scientist Orochimaru, one of the turning points of blackening, Naoki's special identity and early death are also key points that can affect the main line. But, he is 3 years older than me, so there won't be any intersection. Wu is not arrogant enough to warn Naoki, classmate, be careful with detonating symbols in the future, or something like that. As for Naoki's leading teacher, Orochimaru, he even avoided it before it was too late. Without him, if Mr. Nabuang is one of the most troublesome and annoying people in Konoha, then Orochimaru is another. With Orochimaru's strong thirst for knowledge, If he finds something special about Satoru, he will probably do everything possible to make Satoru his research material, maybe. Even if Orochimaru has not been blackened yet, he is still a good young man who cares about the village and his friends, so he can't take this risk. Fortunately, Orochimaru should lead Nawaka's class. After that, when Satoru graduates, Orochimaru should be busy with the war, ready for the next stimulus. The contract was sent out yesterday afternoon, today and tomorrow weekend, the status should not be changed. Those who want to invest, hurry up. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 8. Chapter 8 Asking for Advice. Relying on the information collected, Satoru confirmed that the war would come soon, so he kept a low profile. On weekdays, he practiced martial arts with his only acquaintance, Chiudeo Dingzo, but even he didn't know that Wu himself developed these skills. After several months of getting along, with Satoru's help and family relationship, Dingzo's relationship with Narashikasa and Yamanaka Kaki has obviously become very good. At this age, Luju can already tell that his mind is not simple. And Hai, I don't know if it was the influence of the family's secret art, his eyes seemed to start to have a much brighter light than ordinary people. Now, the four practice taijutsu by the river they often go to. The secret arts of the Yamanaka family are more focused on mental strength, while the Nara family is more inclined to strategic cooperation. However, under Satoru's suggestion, they also realized the importance of physical arts to a certain extent. The principle of chakra and its in-depth application, even if they come from a big family, it is not only the knowledge that they can touch at the first grade level. When fighting ninjas, as one of the two key elements for creating chakra, physical strength always seems to be exhausted first. This is probably because the spirit can achieve the effect of exploding seeds through external stimuli, emotional outbursts and other factors. But physical strength, if it is gone, it is gone. Unless you rest, if you want to explode and squeeze chakra, you can only work hard. Therefore, no matter how impassioned the spirit is, without sufficient physical strength, chakra should still disappear. It is also because of this that the powerful physical strength of the Uzumaki clan can show such an exaggerated effect. The longer the blue bar, the higher the fault tolerance rate. In a fierce battle, even if you are suppressed, as long as you are not instantly killed, you will have countless chances to come back. Physical exercise is a good way to increase physical strength. What's more, they don't know a few offensive ninjutsu. Even if it's just for self-defense, physical jutsu is currently the best choice. Wu, I always feel that the only person in my class I can't see through is you. Taking a breather, Narashikasa took the soda water that Satoru handed over, and happily drank it. Good on, with this hand alone, if it is made public, I dare say you must be the most popular in the whole school. Magic soda, after Wu's improvement, has several good flavors. What Luju is drinking is orange flavored, and what Hai is drinking is lemon flavored, Dingzo. Dingzo is happily eating Wu's special magic meat floss bread, and drinking soda water, it tastes like milk. Low profile. Wu took a gulp of cola-flavored soda water, and while thinking about whether to switch to carbonated water next time, he waved to Luju. The technique developed by my father, I just improved the taste. Adding chakra to the drink stimulates the palate to change the taste. Satoru, I have to say, you are a genius. Hai poured down a glass of soda water with enjoyment, watched the glass fill up automatically in amazement, and exclaimed loudly. Wu, you even engraved the magic formula on the cup, such a genius idea, you actually said it was because of laziness. He's really lazy. Dingzo swallowed the bread in his hand, and stretched out his hand to Wu Yi as a matter of course. A piece of honey. Wu twitched the corners of his mouth and made a few gestures, a piece of bread in his hand gradually took shape from scratch. Hey, Dingzo, I told you that this bread is not nutritious to eat. You haven't eaten it for a while, Why are you eating it again? Ha! It smells so good. Dingzo took the hot bread covered in honey with bright eyes, and took a bite. It's delicious, Wu. I started to learn about family secrets a few days ago, only to find out the chakra contained in your bread can also be used as an accumulation of secret techniques. How strange. Dingzo Chubby showed excitement on his face. Although the quantity is not much, the quality is very high, and it can be saved without affecting the body shape. Enlightenment. You are my great benefactor. I can lose weight without affecting my practice of secret arts, it's all due to you. Wu murmured silently in his heart. Sengfen still spoke so high-soundingly. Satoru probably guessed some of the reasons. The bread for Dingzo was made by Satoru with arcane power, and it is not surprising that it has some characteristics different from chakra. Even the bread made by Satoru himself using the chakra version of the food-making technique will have this effect, because the chakra transformed by Satoru with arcane power is very special. But if someone else uses this technique, the bread made will not have this special effect. Wu was complaining silently when he heard a rustling sound. Who? Enlightenment quickly got up and turned to a bush next to him, making a gesture of transfiguration in his hand. Come out. The three of Dingzo were shocked, and they didn't care about eating and drinking, and immediately stood up and formed their formation. Although they haven't finished learning the family's secret arts yet, the battle formation is already in shape. Dying. Water, is there, water? An embarrassing voice came from the grass, and Wu's expression became subtle. Ha! Looking carefully, in the green grass, there is a guy who almost blends with the grass. He was dressed in green. Wu could hardly see clearly until the guy's head poked out of the grass. Super thick eyebrows. Melon skin. The three of Dingzo opened their mouths wide. The image of this person is too strange. But Wu felt that the guy in front of him looked familiar. Could it be? It's fine if you're not an enemy, I'll give you water. Looking at the young man who was about to faint in front of him, Satoru handed him a glass filled with Sprite-flavored soda. Gudong, 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 hiccup. After taking a full breath, the young man with bushy eyebrows who recovered from his strength was shocked to see that the cup was filled with water again. His hands trembled, and he almost threw the cup out. Wow! Is this a magic weapon? Just a toy. Wu looked at the young man sitting cross-legged on the ground, and asked. Who are you? Why are you so thirsty? There is a river next to you. Ha ha. Thank you little brother for the water, it's really delicious. The young man with thick eyebrows laughed loudly, and gave Xiang Wu a thumbs up. Youth is more exciting when you have outstanding young people like you. I'm Ninja Mat Dai. I was practicing alone on the mountain just now. After I found out that my body was seriously dehydrated, it was too late. I rushed to the river, but I didn't seem to be able to persist, so I fainted. Dai was a little discouraged, but then cheered up again. This shows that my training is not enough. If you don't have precise control over your physical condition, you won't be able to cultivate that. Well, Wu confirmed that the one in front of him is one of the key words, Beiman Kaihuang, Mat Kai's father, the first person in the history of Konoha to successfully practice the forbidden technique Beiman Dunjia, but he is notorious. Unobtrusive wonders. The most famous one is probably his nickname of Wanyan Zairen. Having such a strong person without knowing it, if the old man is not my father, I really want to rant. Satoru sighed, and a smile appeared on his back. Hello, brother Dai, I'm Mito Mongo, and these three are Akimichi Choza, Narashika-isa, and Yamanaka Kiki. We are the first-year students of ninja school, and we are doing battle practice here. Can brother Dai give us some advice? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 9. Chapter 9 Lianhua. Now Matte looks about 18 or 19 years old. He is wearing a unique green exercise uniform, orange leggings and a scarf, super thick eyebrows and melon hair, and a sharp-edged face, always showing a hearty smile. Although he is almost 20, he is still a ninja, and he is likely to be a ninja until his death. But for the current Konoha, or the entire ninja world, the only person who knows his strength and value is right in front of him. Wu smiled and asked Dai for advice, which made Dai stunned. Suggest. Dai couldn't help being hit by this word, his eyes were sour, and he almost didn't shed tears. It has been many years, since he finally became a genin. All the genin who are about the same age have become zongnin one after another, only him, standing still. Dai, who doesn't know any ninjutsu or genjutsu, can only practice physical skills, can't be promoted to chunin, and can only take over ninjutsu tasks. That is to say, such trivial tasks as doing coolies for the employer and helping the employer find cats. Such a forbearance, who has asked him to point out? What's more, the 4 children in front of them, their surnames are all well known in the village. This kid, who even talks to himself, is the son of a high-ranking advisor. I don't know any ninjutsu or illusion, but only physical skills, so I may not be able to teach you anything. Dai came back to his senses, looked at the 4 children in front of him, and couldn't help but feel a burst of frustration. Although I am a ninja, strictly speaking, even this is only comforting. After all, even if you go to ninja school, you need to test ninjutsu and genjutsu. On this point alone, you are actually better than me. Wu looked at the discouraged Dai and felt a little emotional. There is very little information on Dai, so little that he seems to be a character who was added in a hurry. But even with such a small amount of information, netizens picked it up clearly, and Wu was also very impressed. This is the first person who really explained the role of hard work. We are just practicing physical skills, isn't this what you are best at, brother Dai? Satoru handed a piece of magic meat floss bread to Dai, who raised his head in surprise. Eat it quickly, we're ready to go. Let us see your youth. Dai took the bread blankly, and he could see clearly that the bread was conjured out of nothing from Wu's hands. You. He re-examined the child in front of him. Worthy of being the son of the advisor, youthful. I really thought I was talking to a friend of my own age. Dai silently gnawed on the delicious bread. Wu was already whispering something with the 3 of Dingzhou. The expressions of the 3 were first surprised, then turned into doubt. Wu, what you said is true. Is this Yoren Dai so strong? Dingzhou touched his belly, he was full. I am full, but my strength is not inferior to that of an adult. He looks like an ordinary body, and he also said that he does not know ninjutsu and illusion. Can pure body skills really be so strong? If it is based on strategy and the use of ninja equipment, pure body art can also have excellent performance, but that is only limited to the level of ninja. Luju rubbed his chin, he had been looking at Dai for a while. What Wu said should not be wrong. After all, his father is a consultant. If there is something special among the Konoha ninjas, Wu knows that it is not surprising. But I'm surprised that this person doesn't look very smart. Does he really only rely on physical skills to fight? Luju, I don't think he looks like he knows how to use ninja tools. Hai also observed Dai carefully. The position of the scar on his hand is not what a person who is good at ninja tools should have. I have observed the members of the Uchiha family, and they will have some special scars on their hands, which are inevitably caused by ninja training. He really only relies on physical skills. The specific reason, just ask him in person later. Enlightenment nodded. The doubts of the 3 friends will be answered in a short time. Here, Dai had already eaten the bread and drank enough water, and felt that the energy and physical strength exhausted before had recovered, so he stood up and walked to Wu and the other 4. Brother Wu, your youth is really enviable. At your age, there are almost no people who would think of practicing taijutsu. They basically only practice it by the way when they are older and practice ninjutsu. Except for the wealthy Hyuga family, as a well-known taijutsu family, they practiced earlier. Dai didn't talk nonsense either. He seemed to instinctively think of Satoru as an adult around his own age, not a first grader. Dai directly told Wu some common sense about physical skills that he knew, including the rigid fist of his own practice, the soft fist of the Hyuga family. What I practice is straightforward boxing, and the focus is on speed and strength. But now you only need to lay the foundation, so I can introduce to you my practice method. Brother Dai, how far is your physical training? How strong is it? Although Dingzhou almost blindly trusted Wu, his curiosity still made him ask his own questions. Also, being a physical ninja, Dingzhou heard his father mention the upper limit of physical skills. The Chiudao school also uses ninjutsu to increase the destructive power of physical arts. If there is no such increase, relying on physical arts alone, Dingzhou understands that they will not have any advantage in battle. So, Dai hesitated for a moment, but then his face became firm. Since you are interested, I will demonstrate the strength that my physical skills can achieve at this stage. Taking a deep breath, Dai clenched his fists and looked serious. After a while, he gave a low voice. 8 doors Dunjia. First open door open. Second Hu door open. The gate of the third life, open. The four looked at Dai's state in shock. The current Dai burst out with a powerful aura, his body turned reddish, exuding a layer of green energy. This is the strongest move I can use safely. If you continue, I will go to the hospital and lie down. Dai he laughed. After all, as a ninja, I don't have a lot of money, so it's better not to go to the hospital as much as possible. Made a joke, Dai looked at the 4 shocked children in front of him, and waved his hands. The first is speed. Shua. Dai disappeared in front of the Wu 4 in an instant, and when he reappeared, he was already in midair. He can even rely on speed to stay in the air for a short time. And then power. Dai disappeared into the air in an instant. Before the 4 of them could react, there was a violent explosion on the ground not far away. The entire ground seemed to be bombarded intensively by a bunch of bombs, and it was directly shattered under the blow of the violent storm. Lilian Hua. Boom long. After a long time, the smoke and dust gradually dissipated, and the 3 of Dingzhou watched in awe as Dai walked out of the ruins with a green light all over his body. So amazing. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziyu. Chapter 10. Chapter 10 New Semester. Even for Wu, this is the first time he has seen the 8-door Dunjia open the 3-door state. This kind of speed and strength beats most Chunin. This is the legendary forbidden physical art, Lilianhua of the 3rd door of the 8 Dunjia. There are not many people who can successfully dodge under such intensive blows, let alone fight back. Not only that, this is only the 3rd door, and Dai is obviously able to master it proficiently. According to him, it is possible for him to open 4 or even 5 doors at the limit. How strong is the 5-door where? But Dingzhou and the others had all doubts gone, and they worshipped Dai Gai. I can't practice ninjutsu and genjutsu, so I can only practice taijutsu, and this is the forbidden technique in taijutsu Beiman Dunjia. The green light on Dai's body dissipated, and he gasped violently. It was obvious that the blow just now consumed a lot of his energy. Brother Dai. Can I also practice this kind of martial art? It seems that instinctively ignored the word forbidden technique, Dingzhou asked with bright eyes. Unfortunately. Dai smiled and shook his head, and briefly explained the principle of Beiman Dunjia to the 4 of them. Beiman Dunjia is the last way for a person like me who can only cultivate physical skills, and it is also the way to survive a desperate situation. It's a forbidden technique, which can cause great damage to the body. If you don't specialize in physical technique, you won't be able to train your body to the strength enough to open the door. Moreover, the state of opening the door will cause the chakra in the body to riot, making it impossible to perform ninjutsu, which is harmful to you. You only need to use gymnastics to exercise your body. Learning this will waste your talent. Oh! The three of Dingzhou nodded in disappointment. However, the three of them cheered up immediately. With the guidance of such a strong physicist, the physique practice of the few of them must be very good. Wu also nodded lightly. He understood the disadvantages of Beiman Dunjia as well, so now is not the time to practice. On the contrary, Dai's special physique aroused Wu's interest. Unlike Kai can still use some ninjutsu, just not proficient. Dai can't use ninjutsu at all. He is like the legendary absolute magic physique. He can create chakras, but he can't convert them into jutsu at all. This kind of physique is also considered rare, and Wu couldn't help but think of the arcane body tempering technique he practiced. However, the current enlightenment does not have the ability to temper the body of others, but maybe this is a priority research direction in the near future, but now. As Dai said, let's focus on the foundation of practice. With Dai's physical skills, combined with the arcane body tempering technique, Wu is confident that even in close combat, he will not be easily suppressed. So, boys. Now is the time to show your youthful blood. Start now, feel the charm of hard work and sweat. Dai is clearly getting into his role pretty quickly. Perhaps it was the first time to point out a child, and Dai easily brought the four of them back into his own childhood image. First, press the palm 300 times. Facing the four people whose colors changed in horror, Dai bared his big white teeth and flashed a dazzling flash, and stretched out his thumb. If you fail in the middle, you have to start all over again. Aha! The days of Dai's crazy training passed quickly. Wu also really realized why Dai Hui is so strong, and how inhumane it is to practice Beiman Dunjia. Because this level of training is far from even meeting the requirements for opening the first door. Of course, they are too young, and their bodies are far from developing, and excessive training will damage their foundations. When Dai was young, he practiced alone without anyone's guidance, which also caused some irreversible damage to his body. I realized that they were just laying the foundation and learning physical combat skills, but they didn't have any concerns about this. Cooperating with the arcane body tempering technique, Wu could clearly feel that his physical strength was increasing slightly every day. Although the degree is very weak, but in the long run, it is a huge improvement. During this period, Enlightenment put aside his research on other magic, and used the powerful magic weapon, the Book of Medivh, to study the body tempering technique carefully. This involves the application of the enchantment system among the 9 major schools of arcane magic. Wu's signature spells, creating food and creating water, are the most famous applications of the conjuration system among the 9 schools. And the fireball explosion and the like belong to the evocation system that rounds and flattens natural elements. Transfiguration is a well-known application belonging to the transformation department, and several other high-end applications of this faction include teleportation spells and time spells, which is incredible. Enchantment, as the name suggests, attaches magical power to an item or a person, and also includes dispel, which dispels magical effects. Body tempering technique is one of its variants, more famous applications, and the manufacture of magic weapons and remote control. The pile of artifacts of a certain Kaiser is one of the representatives. The Book of Medivh is indeed the most comprehensive magic book spanning 2 worlds. Although the content that Wu can see is limited, only about 15%, it is enough for Wu's magic level to improve by leaps and bounds. Especially after Satoru learned the buff magic arcane wisdom, the photographic memory was a basic operation. The 4-person team shared joys and sorrows during this period, and their friendship quickly strengthened, and Wu couldn't really treat them as little kids. Ninja kids, especially Konoha kids, are really precocious. Their vision, mind, and angle of thinking are not at the same level as the children of their age in the peaceful world in the previous life. The big families seem to be passing on the tense atmosphere of the great powers to these new generations, and the unobvious sense of urgency has gradually shrouded the entire Konoha under Wu's keen perception. Time soon came to April. Satoru and the others finished the first grade and entered the second grade. As a matter of course, a new group of first-year students came to the ninja school to receive the Will of Fire education of the third Hokage. But this time, Satoru found a semi-striking name from the admission list. The first name, Namikaze Minato. The future Golden Flash, the man engraved on Hokage Yanyan, the fourth generation of Hokage, is a super popular character both in life and after death, one of the keywords. The fourth generation was very cute when they were young. Sitting in the classroom, Enlightenment had actually cast the spell Mage's Eye of the Prophecy Department, which was somewhat similar to the Eagle Eye spell of Hunters, but the principle was still different. The Mage's Eye requires concentration and cannot move, which is suitable for the current state. The children in the school square who are being educated by the three generations of Hokage can fully understand the eyes. This covert observation technique is clearly marked prohibited for peeping in the spell book. This spell is one of the most proud spells of Kagure, the gossip master, and Medivh seems to have a deep understanding of Kagure's gossip. To be honest, Minato is much more handsome than his son Naruto. And he can suppress the red hair of the Whirlpool bloodline. The last person to do this was the original Hokage Senju Hashirama, right? As for the other half of the name that people care about, rather a surname. Pharmacist Nanoyu, a 5-year-old girl. It is not impossible to enter school at the age of 5. On the one hand, this little girl's ninja talent is very outstanding. On the other hand, she should be much more mature than her peers. Well, she is a calm little girl.